Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Seiko. I've given the brand a hard time on plenty of occasions over the last few years, whether it's for their poor quality control, their consistent squeeze on pricing, or their seemingly cynical policy of discontinuing watches and then releasing slightly shitter versions for a lot more money soon after. But I feel I always give them credit where credit is due, and I have made plenty of videos praising their watches, or at least the ones that I feel deserve praise. And today, it's a happy Seiko video. No one does dials on affordable watches better than Seiko, particularly their Pressage / Cocktail Time range. But don't just take my word for it. Let me show you. I picked up one of their new Irish coffee Cocktail Time models a few weeks ago, and I think it is drop dead gorgeous. It's a beautiful combination of colours, there's a very subtle fume effect, and an intricate patterning that you barely see from arm's length. You really have to get up close to even notice it. And that subtlety just makes it even classier in my opinion. If you can think of a nicer dial for the cash, I would love to hear about it. Please leave me a comment. I will buy what you suggest and then compare it directly to the Seiko. So how much money are we talking about then? Well, I paid 399 Aussie dollars for one of these delivered from an authorised dealer with a full 3-year warranty. That's 275 US dollars or 220 pounds. That's your challenge then. Find me something better looking than that for the same money. So even if you're a non-drinker, I'm pretty sure this is one Irish coffee we can all enjoy today. Let's flip the camera and have a look at it. Alright, let's get into it. I clearly think this watch is gorgeous, and having shown you a couple of shots already, I don't think I'm going to have to work too hard to persuade you of that today either. Now, as a relatively affordable Seiko, it does have a couple of idiosyncrasies, and there are areas where other brands would do things differently and probably better. But I don't think any brand does better looking dials at this price point than Seiko. I'm not sure how much debate there is going to be in the comments section today, despite my bold claims in the intro. Packaging is utterly standard Seiko fare. This is a J model as well, the SRP-J17J1 to be precise. I know some people put quite a lot of stock in that. The fact that it's a J, I've never seen a massive difference between J's and K's myself, but hey, I'll never say no to a J if it's on offer. Let's cut to the chase then. That watch is gorgeous. The proportions are spot on as well. I've looked at various sizes of Cocktail Times in the past, and I've looked at models with numerous unnecessary complications on the dial, such as power reserve indicators, pointer dates, etc. This is probably my favourite so far. At 39.4mm in diameter, I think it finds the balance between classical sizing to please people who prefer smaller watches and contemporary sizing for those who like something a little larger. I can see both camps being satisfied with this one. Personally, I'm a sub 40mm guy for this style of watch, and this one ticks that box beautifully. So then 39.4mm across the middle, 12mm thick, a lug-to-lug measurement of 45.3 with 20mm between the lugs. On this supplied leather strap, it weighs in at only 66 grams. It has 5 atmospheres, so 50 meters of water resistance from a push-pull crown, perfectly acceptable, as is double-domed mineral crystal, considering my purchase price. And powering this one is our old favourite, the Seiko 4R35. Let's actually go straight to the leather strap today, because they don't always get that right with these Cocktail Times. Do you remember the OG 065? It was notoriously stiff, the strap on that, and most people just binned it straight out of the box. This one is really pretty good, thankfully. It tapers all the way from 20 down to 15.5 at the deployant. It has a smooth matte finish in a shade of brown that really complements the dial. And with a dial as pretty as this one, you don't want the strap trying to steal the show, I don't think. You want something fairly discreet that allows it to do its thing. Now, I only have 2 spare holes though with my 7-inch wrist, whereas there are 6 holes in the other direction. Seiko are clearly therefore catering for 5 3/4 to 7.5 inch wrists with this one. If you don't sit between those numbers, then look elsewhere, or look to replace the strap early as part of your purchasing decision. Case finish on these Cocktail Times is usually pretty simple, and this one is no exception. High polish throughout, 3-piece case with fixed step bezel, vintage style lugs but not vintage length lugs. There's enough of a gap between the case and the strap that you don't get any rubbing, but it's not a no more style park a bus in here large gap. It's a 5mm crown etched with the Seiko S, not huge, but it does the job well. And I don't normally sing the praises of mineral crystal, but for $275 US, you're certainly not going to get a piece of sapphire this shape that looks this good. Double domed with what appears to be a little bit of purple blue AR undercoating, it's not too invasive. Just remember to tuck those arms in when you go past door jams, or there'll be tears before bedtime for sure. We don't need to spend more than 15 seconds here, do we? That movement should be familiar to most people viewing the video. It's a Seiko in-house 4R35, of course, hacking and hand-winding auto with a 40-hour power reserve and a truly loose set of tolerances from the factory of -30 to +40 seconds per day. We're almost at Vostok level here, folks, and they actually broadened recently. That's how little Seiko cares about accuracy. That's how little you should care about accuracy when you buy a Seiko auto. You can of course pop the back off and adjust it yourself if you can be bothered, but you're not buying this one for split-second timekeeping, are you? You're buying it because that is one of the most beautiful dial and hand combinations that I've ever seen on an affordable watch. Now I do have previous convictions for black and rose gold. It's such a nice combo, and this rose gold isn't as in your face like a lot of cheaper ones can be. The Seiko logo is applied and looks stunning, as does the date frame around the colour match date wheel. The hour and minute hands have split finishes, high polish on one side, frosted on the other side. Now it helps with legibility and it looks fantastic. The needle second hand is the perfect length and has that diamond counterbalance that you could actually thread with a bit of patience. Old-fashioned arrowhead indices at the 12, 3, 6 and 9 are applied and also look fantastic. Simple batons elsewhere are similarly applied. One thing I noted and really appreciated is that it's just a minute track around the outer edge, no fifth of a minute markers. A lot of cocktail times that I have reviewed have had that unnecessary extra printing. Simple minute markers give a much cleaner look overall, especially on this slightly smaller dial. On wrist, the size is great for me personally. I have an average size wrist. I think it looks really good. Of course, that's a little subjective, but the proportions are much better than some of the other 40.5mm cocktail times of the past that came in with almost dive watch levels of thickness to boot. That slender tapering strap really helps matters here too. I'm kind of in between holes, isn't that always the way? But at 66 grams, it's a watch you can wear loose, and that little 5mm crown isn't going to bother anyone if it rubs the back of your hand. You get some gorgeous wrist rolls as well because of the black and gold colour scheme. The indices come and go depending on the angle, and I've spoken about my love for Seiko's dual finish hands before. It's so simple, but it just works so well in practice. Pocket shot to finish. I don't think this watch is too dressy or too formal to be worn with shorts and t-shirts, which is of course just as well given my propensity for wearing shorts and t-shirts. You could definitely wear this one as a daily or as an occasional wear black tie piece as well. I think it's pretty versatile in that respect. Moans and niggles. Well, I'm still not convinced by Seiko's insistence on reversing the head and tail of the strap. I don't like the way it looks because I'm just not used to it. It is, however, easy to reverse this strap, of course, particularly as this one is quick release, but that means the printing on the hardware now faces the wrong way, which is a bit of a shame. Mineral crystal is of course not as durable as sapphire nor as forgiving as acrylic. If you scratch it, there's nothing you can do about it apart from replace it. And I am a clumsy oaf, so it is a question of when and not if I scratch it. Plus the crystal on this seems to be a massive smudge magnet. It was rare that I was able to look down at my wrist to admire the beauty of the dial and handset without first having to admire a dirty fingerprint on the upper surface of the glass. Just as well I have 316 of these Pagani polishing cloths in the house, isn't it? Apart from that though, there really is not much to complain about here considering that I paid less than $275 for it. Now I guess the obvious alternative is the Orient Bambino 38mm, very similar in terms of sizing, very similar in terms of specifications, very similar in terms of pricing as well, to be honest. Clearly a different look. The Bambino is a little more mid-century and a little simpler with it, whereas the Seiko is a bit flashier and has a bit more going on. I'm not going to steer you in one direction or another. I bought both and enjoyed both. Now, as always, don't pay retail, don't get excited and buy one of these today for too much money. Show a bit of patience, set some alerts. I'm pretty sure that your patience will be rewarded with time. Seiko have now been making models in this Cocktail Time series for nearly a decade, and releases like this show they're only getting better and better with time. So there you have it, gorgeous style and a really nicely proportioned little piece, this one. Do yourself a favour, shop around for a deal. If you can get one for similar money to me, I think you're doing okay with this one. While you're here, why not check out another couple of gorgeous Seiko dials from this Cocktail Time range. Thanks for watching this one. I hope to see you all again in a future video.